Welcome back to Talking Social. I'm super excited about this week's episode because I'm changing the format up a little bit and bringing on my very first special guest who is going to join us today to talk all about how you can get more comfortable, especially if you are a woman entrepreneur, with the idea of selling, how you can increase your skill sets and get it to feel like a more natural effort that we're engaging in, because at the end of the day, no matter what we do, we all have to sell. It's all part of our business model. So I'm very excited I know I'm going to learn things from her today. I hope that you are too. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, please do feel free, guys, to drop questions or comments if you have them below. You know, I'm always happy to jump in and answer those. I know we're doing this at a little bit of a different time, but definitely let us know what questions you have about getting more comfortable with selling and with that being such an integral part of your business. If you're enjoying the content that we're sharing, what we're talking about, please don't hesitate to drop us a like or share with your friends. I know that this is a really crucial topic for a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I want to make sure that we are able to share this message with others who could benefit from it. So I'm going to go ahead then and introduce our guest, and we will dive into the topics we've got planned today. So Kim from The Stylish Marketer, I'd love to hear, first of all about your business and how you came up with that name, because I love it.
Oh, well, I'm happy to share. Okay, so as you quite rightly point out, I work with women in business, helping them feel more comfortable with selling and finding their sales confidence. So many women don't have it, and they feel really, really uncomfortable, as you've been pointing out.
Exactly, yeah, we were just chatting before we started. When I worked in business development, it was so hard for me initially to get to that stage where I was comfortable making the ask for the sale.
Right, exactly. So that's what I do. I work with women, I hold workshops. I also do coaching and sales consultancy, and that involves a lot of role play and a lot of practice.
I can imagine.
That is how you get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So we look at things like developing the phrases and the words that you can use, that you feel comfortable using, and then we talk about how to transition that into actually making the ask. But you asked me about my business name. So I think we've talked a little bit about how I started out initially wanting to help women with marketing.
Yeah.
That's the marketing part. And the stylish part, I wanted something that was both what I did and also something about me. So I like to think that I'm stylish, and I feel like there's a connection there.
I definitely get that impression.
Yeah, there's a connection there with women. So I'm working with women, so something about not everybody needs to be interested in style. That's not it, but a lot of women are, so it's another way to connect. But as you know, I'm no longer working in the marketing field. I found out very quickly that marketing was something that I can do, but the selling was something that I can do much better.
Right.
And that not very many people were offering help in. So that's where that came from.
I love the name so much because I'm also quite a bit of a fashionista, and it seems like it really combines part of who you are along with describing what it is that you offer. It's far more creative than my own business name. So
after this, we'll have to talk about where we shop.
Yeah, oh, for sure,
right?
absolutely.
Okay. I didn't even know we were going to have that conversation.
All kinds of things coming up today.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So you started out then in marketing, but found that really was not the right fit for you, just because the industry changes so quickly. So you moved into helping to coach women in sales. And one of the questions that I had, and you know, as we've talked about, this has been my own experience as well, but what do you think particularly holds women back from feeling comfortable with selling?
It's an excellent question. So it's a multifaceted thing, and actually there's a societal and a cultural component. Women are socialized to be less aggressive, and women are also socialized not to ask for things and to just to serve other people without knowing what they're asking for. So there's part of that, and the other part is because of that, women get in their own way sometimes. They feel like they can't put themselves out and make an ask. That makes them look not female.
Right.
And there has been a lot written actually about how a woman who is successful in business is suddenly very masculine, which is utter nonsense. She's just a woman doing what she's supposed to do. So there are all these societal, cultural things around women not feeling comfortable. And in the past, a lot of salespeople have been men, and the deserved reputation of sales being slimy and sleazy has come from certain kinds of slimy and sleazy male salespeople. That's not to say there aren't female ones like that too. Of course there are, but we're talking generalizations, right? So it's difficult for a woman who says, look, I have a product or a service that I really think has value, but I don't want to push it out there. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be aggressive, because that's not how I see myself.
Well, and I remember reading a study that talked about how when men are viewed as aggressive or things like that in the workplace, it typically reflects positively in their working performance. But if a woman is viewed as too aggressive, or some of those sort of similar characteristics that have generally been associated with masculinity, it is a knock on her, and it reflects in her, in our annual reports and things like that. So you're constantly sort of in that catch-22, right? Right,
exactly. And there's nothing to say that a woman needs to behave in a more masculine fashion in order to be successful. That's just, there's a perception that that's the case. What I have found, and there are some studies that show this as well, which is wonderful, women are actually better at selling. So
we're good at building relationships, right?
We're good at building relationships. We tend to be better at listening. And we tend to be better at recognizing the emotional cues that are part of the listening and understanding the real needs of a potential client. We also, like you said, we're better at relationships, and we just are a little more empathetic. Again, gross generalization.
Of course.
Doesn't apply to all women and all men, but those characteristics. So being able to read emotional cues, being able to establish rapport, being able to be empathetic, and to be able to sort of, carry on a conversation in a non-threatening way. Those are things that actually lead to better sales. Right? So women tend to be better at that. There is a really interesting study out there that I've seen where there's a company who used artificial intelligence to analyze sales calls. And they analyze all these amazing factors, and I can share this with you.
I'd be very interested to see the intersection of artificial intelligence and sales.
Because they looked at close rates between the genders. They looked at the ratio of talking to listening. And they looked at, I forget what else it was, but it comes out consistently that women are more successful. They're closing more business. And they said it's interesting because women have a higher, whatever it was. The ratios were different between the genders, and yet women were closing more. So it was just really interesting. But you've probably had that experience where you sit down across from someone and they just... And they many times. And you're like, do you even know what it is that I need?
All the time.
And it happens when I'm working with women. They think they need to do, I'm having a sales call. Okay, so I have to do my sales pitch.
Immediately out of the gate. You have to get it out there and get it done.
No, it's very, very important. So this is important. I know we were going to talk about this. It's coming up now, so let's talk about it. Selling is a mindset that involves service. It's not about selling my product to you or making sure that I'm selling this. You must have this product even you don't need it. That's not what it is. It's about understanding what your need is. What's the gap that's preventing you from doing what you need to be or being what you need to be, and can I help you fill that? And that applies to products or services, more so in services, of course. But if you can approach selling from I'm helping somebody solve a problem, that's the key. So this is where maybe women are a little bitter. So instead of saying, oh, I need to sell this product, no. What can I do to help this person? So when you bring it around that way, it becomes a little bit easier to think about what you're doing. It's not so much
It
selling.
does.
There's not a sales pitch. It's
Right.
understanding what is your need
Yep.
and how can I help you solve it.
And that was such a huge turning point for me when it came to, because as we were chatting about before we started this live stream, I've got some background in sales prior to starting my own company. And when I initially started selling, I very much viewed it in that mindset of, when I meet with people, I've got to get our sales pitch done as quickly as I possibly can, because I was uncomfortable. I didn't like how selling was making me feel, because I wasn't viewing it in that mindset of, I am delivering value. I am helping to fill a gap that this person or this company currently has. And when you shift your mindset like that, when you think about it in that framework of delivering value, it really shifts the entire way I think that you feel about selling, because now it's about helping people.
Exactly. It's all about service.
Right.
In the end, it's all about service and helping people. Exactly right. Yes.
So how do you, when you're working with the women that you coach and you're doing these workshops, how do you help people make that shift in mindset?
Okay, so we talk about that.
Yeah.
We talk about all that stuff that we've discussed about, the bad selling experience we've all had, and what are some of the words that you associate with. And actually, every time I've done this exercise, we get a lot of slimy, sleazy, aggressive, but we also get service. And so then we can say, okay, look, that's right. We've all had those bad experiences, but look, we have also had some of those good experiences, and let's talk about it being coming from a point of view of service.
Right.
How can I help? So we do that. And then we talk about how women, all those things we just discussed, how women tend to be better and buy. and then we look at, okay, so let's actually do some of this. Let's do some practice.
Right.
And I find people take away the most from that interaction. So we tend to do a role play where I'll pretend to be a client, and someone will role play, and then the rest of the people watch that and then comment and see what they've learned from it.
I love that.
It's fabulous, because people walk away and go, wow, I learned from that. And then someone else takes a turn. As they put their hand up and say, I want to try.
Right.
And we do it with me, and it really is amazing how valuable that is. Take it away. Yeah.
I can imagine getting that practice. And one question I had for you was, especially based in this discussion we've had around selling being about delivering value and shifting that mindset, one of the tactics that I was taught when I was first trying to learn my way around selling and business development was consultative selling.
Yes.
So asking questions to better understand what the need is, and not, as you were saying, sort of just delivering the pitch cold out of the gate based on the one-page summary you've been given, but really figuring out what are the issues and the challenges that this person is facing, and how can I craft a solution that's going to help that. So is that something that you focus on? Okay, I thought so.
No, absolutely. Because if you think about it, even building rapport is about asking questions. It's about understanding, who is this person that you're speaking to?
Yeah.
What makes them tick? And then you sort of subtly shift over to, all right, let's talk about what's going on in your life. Is it, might be a personal situation, it might be a business situation, but what's going on? And it's like, I hate to use this, it's such a cliche. It's the onion. It's peeling the onion and digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And I had an experience as a fairly new salesperson where I didn't get far enough, and I had to have somebody more senior come along and continue to peel because I hadn't gone far enough. I thought I had, and this is actually a really easy mistake that people who don't have a lot of experience find themselves in that situation. They think they've uncovered the problem, and they come to find out, because the person isn't buying, that actually they didn't.
They haven't.
They haven't gone far enough. So I'm really glad that you asked about the consultative part, because everything that I do and everything that I teach, we talk with this mindset, but everything comes down to the questions.
Yep.
And I call them compelling questions. So there's a really famous sales guru. His name's Jeffrey Gitmer. Maybe you've come across
I
him.
actually haven't, but I will have to look him
so,
up. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's made written a book called The Little Red Book of Selling, and it's this
I
little
like
book,
it.
and it's tiny,
The
and
Little Red Book of
he
Selling.
says it's small because you're supposed to carry it around with you.
So that you can reference
Refer
it.
to
Yeah.
it. Right, exactly. But so his thing, he says, he calls them power questions. They're questions that you ask that make your prospect think about their problem in terms of their needs, but answer in terms of your needs as the service provider.
Very interesting.
So I do a lot of work on the questioning.
Okay.
So we talk about, and when you work with me, this is a really critical component because the questioning comes through all parts of the sales process. It happens in qualifying.
Yeah.
It happens in the rapport building right at the beginning, the qualifying, and then right through to this. All sales conversations have these kinds of questions, and it's really important to understand how to ask the questions the right way, and to be able to have a stable of questions that you can pull out and apply to whomever it is you're speaking to. I mean, obviously you have to be able to adjust and adapt.
Right.
But if you have a pretty good idea of the ones that are going to peel the onion for you, then you're a lot further ahead than somebody who's just going, so let me tell you about my product.
Read from this list in front of me.
Right. We're not talking about a script.
Exactly.
Right? You need to have them in your head.
Yeah.
And some people find it easier to have little cues. That's cool. But it can never sound like a script.
Right. And I think that's a huge point that I want to dig into a little bit more. Is I think so often we view sales as being almost like a scientific process, right? You're gonna be here, and I'm gonna ask you this question at this time, and then I'm gonna tell you these things to convince you that you should buy at this point, and then if you move to the next stage, I'm going to do exactly the same thing and just slightly different questions, slightly different things that I'm talking to you about. But what I have come to learn, and I'd love to get your thought on this, is that selling is really more of an art form because it's a constant, it's like playing a game of tennis, right? With the person that you're trying to sell to. You're constantly having to adjust based on where they're hitting that ball to you.
Exactly.
And if your mindset is in, these are the questions that I'm going to ask at this time, and this is what I'm going to tell you at this time, and you're not able to respond to those volleys that are coming at you, it makes it really challenging.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
I feel like we're on the same, very much the same wavelength.
We totally are. Because you can't, you have to be able, it's like you said, the tennis match.
Right.
You can't just have your spiel, and then something else that you said was, I'm going to convince you. If you're doing it the way we are discussing, there's no convincing.
Right.
Because you are offering a solution to a problem. And, the nitty-gritty, okay, is it the right value for the solution you're offering? Is the timing right? All those factors are important, but are you offering the solution that solves my problem? That's the key. There shouldn't be any convincing involved. And I tell people, too, that you're almost the way to winning the sale if you qualify properly.
Right.
Because you shouldn't be bringing people forward that have no business buying from you.
Yep. Right?
And so part of your job is to figure out, is this a potential customer or not?
Right.
And that's happening on both sides.
Yep.
But the questioning is so critical to that. You've got to be able to get it right there. And you're right, it's an art form. You can't, I love it when I see things that say, I guarantee to double your income or triple your income, or you'll have, and
those make me crazy.
I just cringe because nobody can do that.
I just saw a Facebook ad right before I came over here where it was the exact same thing. Somebody promising to triple my income if I just do their course in the next 30 days.
Give me a break. So it can't happen. It can't happen. And because it is an art form, this is why the practice is so important. So when you work with somebody like me, we practice, but I give you feedback.
Yeah.
And then we try it again. And we make this little change, and we maybe change these words, and you can see it happening slowly, where somebody goes from, I need to make my spiel, to, let me just relax. That's important.
Breathe,
relax. Let me just get to know you.
Yeah.
So this is kind of funny. my younger brother was in a sales role. Actually, he still is. He's changed jobs. He's still in a sales role. And I happened to be visiting him, and he was doing a sales call from home while I was visiting, and I was busy working on something, and I just listened. And he was on the phone for about half an hour.
Yeah.
And he hung up the phone, and I just said, that was a textbook sales call. It was perfect.
Let me give you some pointers.
No, he did everything
Oh, he did
right.
it well. Oh, I thought
he
you
did everything right. No, he did everything right. He was calm and relaxed, and he connected with the person he was talking to about something they had previously discussed. So he was just re-establishing rapport.
Right.
And then he asked some questions, and he mostly listened. That's
so
really important.
So key.
Important. Yeah. Yeah, it's like so many people think selling is all
right.
No.
It's so much more about that listening piece, and something that I'm a huge believer in on the marketing side is that creating connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
People want to work with people that they like.
Yes.
And you can't get people to like you unless you're able to create that sense of connection.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of the know, like, trust process. You have to go from getting somebody to know who you are from that first interaction where they learn about you, and then you build rapport, you get them to like you, to enjoy engaging with you, and ultimately you get to a point where they trust you, and that's where you're going to be able to sell very effectively, because now they want to buy from you.
Right, because they, as you said, they know you.
Right.
People do want to buy from somebody that they know.
Yeah.
And if they don't know you, then it's your first job is to get them to know you. And whether that's through marketing or some element of the sales process, or maybe like just having a phone call. I was giggling because I read an article this morning about how the phone can actually be more efficient. I'm old enough that phone is the way I like to operate.
Yeah.
And I absolutely 100%, because you can pick up so much more in intonation and tone and through the phone than you can on email. Right?
It's very true.
So you need to be having a personal connection and not on email. Either in person like we are face to face, or on the telephone, because that's when you can really start to understand who you're talking to and what are their concerns and problems.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why personalization, whether in sales or in marketing, is such an important part of being able to grow your business effectively, because people want to feel like you are talking to them specifically and addressing their specific needs. Exactly.
Yeah, that has actually, that's always been the case, but I think that's become even more so as we are in such big data era.
Exactly.
Everybody knows that they're a number, so if there anything you can do to make them feel like a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just a statistic showing up in a Facebook ad poll or something like that.
And this is actually where small business has an advantage.
Yes, very true. Very true.
Huge advantage, because you might still be using technology to support you and to help you, but you have a much closer relationship to your clients than a large business does.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, that in a lot of ways, being a small business owner or an entrepreneur where you're typically working one-on-one, especially in services.
There aren't levels between you and the customer. It's you and the customer.
And that does make a huge difference, because coming from previous, when you work for a large company, you're right. It's very much you close the sale and then it gets handed off to somebody that they've never interacted with before, and now you're losing that personal relationship that you've built.
Yeah, and also it's different people who are building the relationship.
Right.
So when you're a small business, in many cases, it's just you.
Yep.
And it's you all the way, and you are able to, instead of using technology, you're able to use your brain to make connections and to be able to say, oh, I think Mr. So-and-so would really appreciate seeing this bit of information. So you can do that. Now, you can't automate that.
No, so true. And I do think though this crosses over into a little bit when you and I were exchanging emails on some of the topics we wanted to make sure to cover. We talked a bit about sales funnels. So I think there's definitely some crossover here of how do you implement a process so that you do have some structure around your selling without losing that personalization aspect.
So it's all about the follow-up.
Yeah.
Follow-up is really, really important. So you know, as a small business owner or an entrepreneur, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
You're going out there and networking, which is your marketing, right? You're networking and making connections. Well, what are you doing with those connections?
Yep.
And then you get somebody to come through the funnel, as it were. They say, oh, you know, I'm kind of interested in talking more with you. And you say, oh, I'm very excited about that. And so then what do you do? So, well, then you set that up. Well, then you must absolutely have a system in place to allow you to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
So you have a call with someone and they say, oh, I'm really interested in this. Can you find out blah, blah, blah? Or can you put together a solution for me? Or whatever the next step is. And some funnels take longer.
Right.
Because of the nature of the product or service. But you must absolutely have a system where you're scheduling the next action and the next activity, and you're never letting it go until it's definitely done.
Right.
It's either they've said, yes, I'd like to buy from you, or not right now, but call me at this time, or no, we're never going to work with you.
And hopefully it's one of the first two.
Well, hopefully. The reality is, though, if you're doing this right, you need to be continually feeding
the funnel.
As you know, from the marketing has to continually feed the funnel, because not everyone is going to say, yes, I'd like to work with you. And some people will say, yes, I do want to work with you, but our budget it means I can't until this time next year. So then you need to have a really good follow-up system so that you understand, okay, it's a budget issue. So their budget year is, I'm writing this down in my customer relationship management system. This is their budget year. I need to be back in touch this time, in addition to the keeping them and sending regular things to keep you top of mind.
Right.
So that if the situation changes, they call you and not somebody else. Right. So there is a process.
Right.
There's still a process. And it's really just making sure that you are keeping in touch and that the sales conversation is continuing until it can't any longer.
Because they've agreed to work with you, or they've made a difference.
It's just not going to happen, right? But if you're getting that far down in the sales conversation, there's going to be a pretty good reason why they say no. Most, if they've come that far, most are probably going to convert.
Which you can then, if they do say no, that's an opportunity to learn from it.
Learn, or ask for a referral,
right? Or
ask for recommendation, or all sorts of things that allow you to continue to be able to offer your service to somebody else.
I really want to emphasize, though, that follow-up piece, because I remember hearing that I think on average to close a sale, and this is probably more based in the services world rather than products, especially low-priced products, like if you're selling t-shirts or something. Right. Yeah. But if you're selling more expensive products, or if you're selling services, I remember hearing that I think it takes 8 touches with a potential, maybe it was like 8 to 12 or something like that.
So the thing is, do you recall what you saw in there? Does that include the marketing touches?
No, I think this was purely once it transitioned. So I think it was qualification on through. Okay. And it takes 8 and when we say qualification, guys, just for those who may not be familiar with some of the terms, qualification is about making sure that a lead that has come to you is actually a lead that you can help, right? So if somebody were to come to me saying, hey, can you help me solve the issues that I am having with my printer or my server, they're not a good lead for me because I don't work in that space, right? I don't do IT services. So it's about making sure that the person that's coming into your funnel is truly somebody that you can help. So I think sort of what we were saying earlier.
And in addition to that, has the authority to make a purchase.
Yes. Yeah. That's a big part of it too, because if you're talking to somebody who, even if they're somebody that you can help, but they're not in a position to actually make that decision, they're not the right lead for you. You need to be talking to somebody who is in a position to make that choice.
And that's actually part of the questioning.
Right.
You have to be able to establish if the person you're having the conversation with is a decision maker.
Yeah.
And if they're not, how do you establish that? So it's, again, onion peeling.
Exactly.
As part of your skill as a salesperson.
So it really and that's where this funnel that we're talking about comes into, and sales funnels really become important, because what you want to be able to do is as you were saying, ask the right questions at each stage of the sales process so that you are able to ascertain whether or not they're going to keep moving through with you.
If they should be.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But now I'm just going back to what you said about, oh goodness, what did you say?
We were talking lead qualification.
Not the funnel. We were talking, I don't remember now. I don't remember. It was important, but maybe it will come again.
Is it when we were talking about lead qualification?
No, it was just now, but I don't remember.
Something about, we were talking about asking the right questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. There's so many components here.
I know.
When we're sort of, batting back and forth. And, and it's important also to, it was the touches.
Oh,
so the number I'd seen was 7, so 7, 8, whatever. But that's interesting because I'd never seen it qualified as selling touches as differentiated from marketing touches. Certainly I do know, so when you look at conversion numbers, the number that's bandied about is 4%. Which is very, very low. So, but what that includes, that's your starting right at the beginning from your marketing conversion.
So from the first time that they're introduced to your business.
Exactly. So when you've got that's when you're saying you've had somebody sign up to download something, and then you have an email. Okay, so then it's taking them all the way through, like we were just saying, from, I'm interested in what you have, enough to ask you for more information.
Right.
Now I want to have an appointment to have somebody talk to me specifically. And it's coming down through the funnel. So the 4% is right from the beginning of the marketing. So you know from the marketing that you're going out wide.
Right.
And with the idea being that you're going to sift it down narrower and narrower, and then the sales process takes it narrower and narrower and narrower. Right. So obviously, if you have a differentiation between marketing and sales, once you get somebody to the point where sales is involved, then your conversion rates should be higher.
Yeah.
And in some businesses and some people, conversion rate is very high because they're only talking to people who are very well qualified, and they're asking the right questions, and they're taking them through.
Yeah.
Right? And then you mentioned also about the lead time. This was one of the other factors. So there are 4 factors that you can impact. One is the volume of leads coming through. That's very much more marketing. One is the conversion, the conversion rate. So if you can convert more business, obviously your conversion rate is higher.
And this is why it's so important too to know your conversion rate so that
you can see if you're improving.
Right.
If you're improving. And then the sales cycle length, and you touched on that before, that's the third one. In some businesses and some industries, especially large ticket items, the sales cycle is very long. And there's nothing, if you're especially working with federal government, there is nothing that you can do to make that shorter. However, that's not always the case.
Right.
If you're working in a different business or a different industry, that again is part of your skill as a salesperson, is shortening that cycle.
Right.
That's where the follow-up is so important.
Yep.
And the fourth factor that you as a salesperson, whether you're the owner of the business or your only job is sales, the fourth one is increasing the average sale value.
And I think this is a good transition to that 4-part blog series that you've been running on your site, right? Yes. Excellent.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
I'm calling it the Sales Growth Series.
I love it.
And I've just finished the third one, which was on the average sale value. And so the reality is, you might be in a sales role. That might not be your entire role, but your job is partly to bring revenue in. And so when we're talking about selling as an art form, these are the components that you can directly impact. So you can say to marketing, even if it's yourself, I need more leads coming in.
Right.
So more volume obviously will lead to more sales.
Yep.
You need to be able to convert more of those leads that are coming through and not leave them on the table. This is where follow-up and very good questioning is so important. Then you also need to be able to, if you can, influence the sales length, sales cycle length. So that's where the follow-up is important. And again, the questioning. I mean, if you get all the way through your sales process and someone says, oh, well, but our budget's all spent for this year, you should have
qualified them in the beginning.
You should have known that a long time earlier, right? And then the other one is, so we talked about it. So these are all, you increase all of them except for the sales cycle length.
Okay, decrease, yep.
Right, and then you want to increase average sale value.
Right.
This is the one where you can have the most fun. This is the where you say, did you want a large drink? Was that a large drink?
So would you like fries with that?
You want fries with that, exactly. And so you have the opportunity within each selling transaction. Yes, you're solving someone's problem, but within that solution, is there a little extra something that doesn't, maybe that just adds a little more, that makes your customer a little happier and makes you a little happier? It's a win-win. You know, you're not saying, I'm going to just slide all these extra things they don't really need.
Right, but something that is related.
Something that will actually make the solution better. And that's increasing. And if you do that with every transaction, well, guess what? Suddenly your sales are just growing. Right? So if you influence any one of those, sales will grow. If you influence all of them,
they'll grow significantly. Yeah.
Right.
But I think this raises a few points that I want to touch on a little bit more. I mean, the first is that's a great tactic that you can take to increase the average the average sale amount, is just whatever you're selling from t-shirts to services. If in each situation you are adding something of a lesser, a lesser cost, but still of good value.
Still good value that makes the whole solution more valuable.
Right. So if you sell shirts, it could be, hey, why don't you get a hat to go along with your shirt?
Something matching. Or I think I wrote in the piece that I just put up this week, actually, I said, when you go buy lunch and you're buying a sandwich, if the person says, well, is this a meal for you? Would you like to add, can I get you a beverage? And how about some dessert? Exactly. So you add a beverage and a dessert, and suddenly you have 30% larger sale.
Right.
If you do that every time,
now you're drastically changing the revenue that you're bringing in. Yeah. Right. But I think it also touches on two other things for me. One is the importance of knowing your numbers. So I feel like this is something, and I was guilty of this when I first started out too, because nobody told me how important it is to make sure that you understand your numbers. I carried some of that over, fortunately, from my time in sales, but I feel like we don't talk about that enough for small business owners and for entrepreneurs, how important it is to understand the data and the numbers that are the driving force behind your business, and your conversion rate and your sales cycle. Those things are all the driving force behind your business.
I think most entrepreneurs would tell you that they intuitively know it. and you know what? I think they probably do.
Yeah.
They probably do, but as they grow, and that's obviously what everybody wants to do, to a point. Not everybody wants to own the world, but you want to grow.
Right.
And as you're growing, you can't keep a control of all of that all the time. So then you do need to find systems that help you. And then you might be surprised. If you're tracking things like your conversion rate, you might be surprised, pleasantly or unpleasantly.
But either way, you need to know.
You need to know so you can
respond.
Exactly, so you can take the appropriate action.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too that this raises for me is the importance of understanding who your target audience is, and you need to know who your target audience is, and you need to know what you can offer to them that is of value. And I think I see so often people diving into, owning a small business, being an entrepreneur, and kind of taking the approach of, well, figure out who my target customers are along the way. Or, I sell t-shirts, so I don't really do anything. Exactly. I don't really do anything different from anybody else. And you've got to understand what it is that you bring to the table that nobody else does. It could be a lower cost, it could be a particular program or service or product that you provide. Whatever it is, you have to know who you're selling to and why they should buy from you.
Right. And sometimes you figure that out as you go.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. Most people start out, I can sell it. It's applicable to everybody.
Right.
Which may be true, but it makes it very hard for everybody to find you.
Yeah.
And you know this from the marketing side. you need to be able to, say, what is it that makes you different, and who is the person who's most likely to find that appealing?
Right.
Because if you can clearly define that, then that allows those people to find you much more easily, because you're talking the same language.
Right.
Yeah. So that sort of, this is where marketing and sales, they really are bedfellows.
Yeah.
They need to be.
Yeah.
You can't. You need to be able to have a marketing so people know who you are and what you offer, and have to be able to collect that, and then selling kind of takes it from there. And it's that whole funnel process.
Yep.
The marketing brings them in, and then the selling process sifts it down to the actual sale. And sometimes that's just like that. And sometimes it's really a long time. Yeah.
No, but it's just, I think especially, in the marketing space, it's such a crowded world out there now that trying to sell to everybody is a surefire way to just
nobody knows
sell to nobody because
Yeah.
you're not speaking to individual people, and we've gotten so good at understanding these days when we're being sold to, and we don't like it.
So this is something else Jeffrey Dahmer says, is people don't want to be sold to, people want to buy.
Yep.
And that is a difference. If you think about it, no, I don't want to be sold, because especially if someone's giving me their spiel, no, I am not interested in that. I have a problem. Can you please help me with my problem? And because they want to buy.
Right.
I have a problem. I want to solve the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. So don't give me your spiel. Understand me.
Right.
Understand my need.
Right.
Then maybe we can talk.
That does, though, that's a good point. That takes us back to something we were talking about before we started this, and this gets back to sort of changing your mindset a bit. We were talking about the difficulty that a lot of women have often asking for the sale, right? Like we can network, we can build the relationship, but then we get to that point where now we have to say, hey, would you like to buy this? And that's where we sort of hit that wall and kind of hope that they will just tell us that they're going to buy from us.
And they won't.
Exactly.
So and this is the interesting part. They are expecting us to ask them for the sale.
Yes.
And most of the time, the reason we can't ask is because we're in our own way.
Right.
And I'm going to we should put this in your notes and link this for everybody who's watching as well. There's a brilliant video of this Australian woman. I can't recall the name of her business now. Something slightly vulgar, but anyway, her name is Denise Duffield Thomas.
Denise Duffield Thomas,
She does this brilliant thing where she's speaking to a group of women.
Yep.
And she talks about the difference in the way men sell and the difference in the way women sell, and it is hysterical.
Oh, I'm going to have to go check this out.
You have to, because she talks about how she's like, well, I have this thing and I want to sell it to you, but I need to lose about 10 pounds. I can't sell it to you till I lose 10 pounds. And she goes on. I
can't sell it to you until I get my highlights done. And
exactly. And all the women in the room are just going, I get that, because exactly, we've all been there, and we've all done it. No, I can't sell it to you today because whatever the reason is, and she does it in a way, and it's just funny.
I love that.
But women are afraid.
Yeah.
They think that they're being pushy just by asking for the business, and the reality is, whoever they're talking to is I want to buy.
Right.
I have a problem and I think you can solve it. Can you please ask me to buy from you?
They wouldn't be talking to you in the first place if there wasn't at least some interest in making a purchase from you.
And funnily enough, I actually did this with a client on Monday. We practiced exactly that. I said, okay, now's the time. You need to ask. These are the magic words.
Yep.
You need to now say these things. And the only way to get over that is to practice.
To just start doing it. Yeah. It sort of equates to me to the bigger picture of taking the leap into entrepreneurship in general. We get so hung up. When I decided to start my own business, I tended to get two reactions from people. One was sort of that, well, that's good for you, congratulations. But I could sense that, this sense that they thought I was not making the right choice. Or the second reaction was, but why would you do that? Like, why would you jump off into the deep end and take that risk? And I think it's because, especially as women, we definitely have that fear associated with it, that it's not the right time, I need to wait, you know, I
never
can't,
the right time.
Right, I can't, this has just happened or that has just happened, and you're right, I mean, it's never the right time it's never going to be the perfect time to start a business. You have to get over that fear and take that plunge. The same way, it's never going to be the perfect moment to ask for a sale. You just have to try to read the signs correctly. And
no, actually, I disagree.
You do? Okay,
There
good.
is a perfect moment
to
ask for the
there
sale.
Is. Oh,
there
like
is.
It.
So if you've done all those things that we've been talking about correctly, and you've built the rapport, you've qualified someone, you fully understand their need and their issue, then that's the right
perfect time.
That is the right time to ask them for the sale. Not when you've lost 10 pounds, and not like when you've got your hair fixed or whatever it is. That is the right time because they're ready to be asked. So they're probably going to say yes. You know?
Okay, I love that. That makes it easier knowing that there is a perfect time to ask for the sale.
But you've had to have done
those steps.
All the steps. And you've had to have gotten out. You know, sometimes that happens quickly.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't. But as the more you become comfortable with the whole process and being able to peel that onion and get down to the nub of it, and oftentimes people hide what their real needs are. So you've got to be very skillful in your questioning to get what's the real issue.
Which is a good point I was going to make earlier. A lot of times those questions are simply about getting that person to understand the problem that they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they may have only an inkling of it.
Right.
And so this is where you said the art and the skill comes in. So, you know, it's not that nobody can be a salesperson, but that you need to be able to practice the skill and the art and to be able to do all those things. And you know, it's not going to be for everybody because some people are not, it's too difficult for them to engage that much. You know, but that doesn't mean you have to be an extroverted person.
I'm a huge introvert, so.
So, you know, you can, I tell people that selling is just having a conversation.
Yes.
And it's like we're having a conversation right now. So it's a conversation with purpose.
Right.
But it's just a conversation. And as long as you can keep that conversation going until you have a solution that your person wants to buy, because it solves their problem, you keep having the conversation.
I think that's such a great way to look at it because sort of like we were talking about the mindset shift in the beginning, if you reframe the way you think about sales to think of it as having a conversation where you are trying to help this person understand a problem so that you can deliver value to them, it completely changes the entire you know, way that you look at it and approach sales.
The way you approach everything. Even the way, like, you don't rattle off your spiel then. Because you're in discovery. You're getting to know this person and their situation and, you know, they're talking to you for a reason.
Exactly.
You know, everybody's busy. So they're not sitting down and having coffee with you or having a conversation on the phone or whatever it is they're doing. They're not doing that because they think you know, they like you. You know, they want to get to know you because they think that you can help them. So
we've covered a ton, so I'm going to try to do, if I can, a sort of a quick summary. So I think we talked about, and probably the most important takeaway from this is shifting your mindset about sales, because that's really what everything hinges on. If you view it as you're being pushy and you're trying to force somebody to buy something and you have your script in front of you every time you have a sales conversation, that's where you're just going to continue to feel uncomfortable with the idea and be nervous about it and not enjoy it, and it's going to continue to be a real uphill battle for you. But if you change your mindset, that changes the entire process.
Because I don't know very many people who don't want to help. Who don't want to provide a service that helps somebody.
Exactly. And I mean, regardless of what you're selling, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to make somebody's life a little bit better by providing them with whatever it is that we provide.
And even if it's a brand new handbag. You know, do we need a new handbag? No. But does it make your life better somehow? The person who's buying it would say yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it absolutely does.
Exactly. So we're, you know, whether you sell coloring books or t-shirts or, you know, consulting services, software, exactly, If you're thinking about it in that mindset, that is definitely a game changer. And then we talked a little bit about some of the the tactical things that you can do to help improve your sales. So having a sales funnel in place so that you have those triggers of when you need to follow up with somebody, because it does take more than 1 or 2 touches to get people to actually
and more
make
than 1
the
or 2
sale.
emails,
Yes.
and more than 1 or 2 phone calls, because a lot of people give up after they didn't respond to my email. Well, I have a colleague who she did 30 days of reasons why someone didn't respond to your email. Could be
I love that.
It could be their boss dumped this on them and they can't do anything else.
Yep.
There was a bereavement in the family.
The phone rang.
They were sick, whatever it is. I mean, she had, honestly, 30 different reasons why somebody didn't respond to your email. And, we all have so much email.
Right.
We know sometimes it doesn't mean that they don't still want to buy from you.
Right. It just means that, I know that I have forgotten to respond to an email because the doorbell's gone off, or I've gotten distracted in some way. So making sure that you have those follow-ups in place.
Ball is in your court.
Right.
Ball is always in your court.
Yes. So true. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about that, and about making sure that you have that process in place, even though you are focusing on delivering a very personal sales. You're focused on building that relationship so that people get to like you, get to trust you, and are far more willing to buy from you. So it's about sort of combining the science and the process of sales funnels, follow-ups, that methodology, with the art of being able to build relationships. So
exactly. And it's not scary.
No, not when you change your mindset. It totally gives you a different way to approach, and it changes how you feel. At least for me, it has how you feel about making sales. So well, Kim, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I think we covered so much, and I really hope for those of you who have been uncomfortable with the idea of selling, or it makes you nervous, or it gives you that sort of icky feeling, that a lot of especially the mindset shifts that we talked about have helped to give you a different perspective on sales. Before we wrap, I want to make sure people know where to find you if they want to follow up, ask more questions, take a look at some of the coaching services that you offer.
For sure. So if you need to practice, you can definitely get in touch with me. So I'm the Stylish Marketer. My website is thestylishmarketer.com. And I do write a lot of really sort of this type of what we've been talking about. I write a lot about that on my blog, and there's a lot of information there. It just gives you a background to what we were talking about, those 4 things, the shifting the mindset, talking about conversations. But if you need the practice, and I really think if you're uncomfortable selling and making that ask, practice is the way to get there. And you can always just call me. And I have that information on my website, thestylishmarketer.com.
I think you're on Facebook as well.
I am on Facebook.
Stylish Marketer.
The Stylish Marketer on Facebook, yes.
Excellent.
Yes,
Kim, thank you so much for joining today. I loved this, and I learned a lot, and I think for the folks that are able to watch either live or on replay, learned a lot as well. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom about selling.
Oh no, this has been a ton of fun.
Good.
Clearly we have more to talk about
Yes,
too.
exactly.
So, but thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. I will be back next week. Topic to be announced soon. And feel free, as I said, drop a question or comment if you've got any follow-ups that you want to do with anything that we covered today about selling, because we definitely covered a lot. So thank you, guys, and I will see you soon.